Some secrets are so well hidden they have defied every attempt to open them. These unsolved codes and ciphers are silent challenges, puzzles that have resisted the world's best code breakers for decades, even centuries. In this journey, you will discover 20 of history's most baffling cryptographic enigmas. We will explore ancient manuscripts filled with unreadable text, modern sculptures that taunt intelligence agencies, and personal notes that guard profound mysteries. You will learn why these puzzles remain stubbornly locked and what their secrets could reveal about lost history and hidden treasures. How is it possible that a simple message from a composer or a clay disc from the Bronze Age can still confuse experts today? What does it take to finally break a code that has survived every attack? By the end, you will understand the fascinating reasons why some mysteries are built to last. What kind of secret do you think could remain unbroken for 500 years? A beautiful book from the 15th century holds secrets no one can read. Its pages are filled with elegant handwriting, flowing in an alphabet that does not match any known language. Alongside the text are illustrations of plants that have never grown on Earth, of women bathing in strange green pools, and of celestial charts mapping unknown heavens. This is the Voynich Manuscript, and it is the most famous unreadable book in the world. For centuries, it has been a siren's call to the world's best code breakers. The brilliant minds who cracked Nazi Enigma machines during the Second World War turned their skills to this medieval puzzle, and they too were defeated. They applied every tool, from basic letter frequency analysis to the most complex modern algorithms. The text resists all of them. Its structure is just coherent enough to suggest a real language, with patterns and repetitions that feel intentional, yet it defies every attempt at translation. This has spawned countless theories. Is it an elaborate, meaningless hoax created to defraud a wealthy patron? Is it a coded record of lost botanical knowledge, or a manual for alchemical processes? Or, as some have wildly speculated, could it be a message from another world? Its concept so alien we lack the framework to even begin understanding its illustrations. The manuscript's very existence is a profound challenge, not just to cryptographers, but to our understanding of history itself. It sits silently in a library at Yale University, a beautiful, maddening artifact that asks a single, persistent question. What profound idea, what forgotten truth, was so important that someone went to such incredible lengths to hide it in plain sight, creating a code that has remained unbroken for over 500 years? This botanical and astronomical puzzle from the medieval world finds a curious echo in another text from a similar era, one that is far more personal and just as mysterious. Buried somewhere in the rolling hills of Virginia, a fortune in gold and silver waits for someone to solve a 180-year-old puzzle. This is the legend of the Beale Ciphers, a story that begins with a simple iron box. In the early 1800s, a man named Thomas Beale entrusted this box to an innkeeper, instructing him to open it if he never returned. Beale vanished, and years later, the innkeeper broke the lock. Inside, he found not treasure, but 3 sheets of numbers. These were the ciphers, and a letter claiming they detailed the location of a massive hoard of precious metal. The innkeeper spent the next 20 years trying to crack the code, succeeding only with the second page. He supposedly used a key, the very words of the United States Declaration of Independence. Each number corresponded to the first letter of a specific word in that founding document. The decoded message described a treasure so vast it was hauled by wagon from the West, a fortune valued today in the millions. It listed the precise weight of the gold and silver and named the owners for whom it was being safeguarded. but the first cipher, which holds the exact location of the vault, and the third, which lists the next of kin, remain completely unreadable. Countless treasure hunters have dug up the countryside, using every historical text imaginable as a new key, from the Constitution to Shakespeare's plays. Yet the numbers refuse to yield their secret. Could the entire story be an intricate hoax, a clever fabrication designed to sell pamphlets in the 19th century? The sheer detail of the solved cipher argues for its truth, a tantalizing piece of evidence that keeps the dream alive. This American treasure hunt, fueled by a single deciphered page, mirrors a European quest born from a single, enigmatic piece of stone. A single sheet of paper covered in 87 whimsical, swirling characters holds a secret from one of England's greatest composers. This is the Dorabella Cipher, a personal note written by Edgar to a young friend, Dora Penny, in 1897. The script itself is beautiful, a cascade of semicircles and squiggles arranged in 3 short lines, looking almost like a private musical notation or a fluid, artistic alphabet. Edgar was a man deeply enamored with puzzles and codes, often embedding hidden messages in his own musical compositions for his friends to find. Yet for this particular cipher, he never offered a key, taking its true meaning with him to the grave. For over a century, this elegant note has resisted all efforts to be read. Code breakers have tried everything, from simple substitution ciphers where each symbol represents a letter, to complex theories that the shapes correspond to musical notes, perhaps encoding a forgotten melody. The problem is its devastating brevity. With only 87 characters, there simply is not enough text for reliable frequency analysis, the technique used to crack longer codes by finding the most common letters. Any proposed solution remains just a guess, impossible to verify without more material. The true message was likely a piece of personal whimsy, a private joke or a warm sentiment shared between 2 people. Its enduring mystery shows how a simple, personal creation, never intended for public scrutiny, can transform into an immortal puzzle. We are left to wonder if the secret was profound or charmingly trivial, a question that this small, artistic script will never answer. While the Dorabella Cipher guards a personal secret, another encrypted text is said to conceal a location of immense historical and religious significance. At the very heart of American intelligence, a copper sculpture whispers secrets in plain sight. This is Kryptos, a massive, twisting artwork installed at the Central Intelligence Agency headquarters, a permanent enigma meant for the world's most skilled code breakers. Since its dedication in 1990, it has publicly challenged the agency's own cryptographers. The artist Jim Sanborn inscribed 4 distinct encrypted messages into its shimmering surface. Through immense effort, 3 of these sections have been solved, revealing poetic and cryptic phrases about history, archaeology, and the very nature of secret knowledge. But the 4th section, a compact block of just 97 characters, has resisted all attacks for over 3 decades. This final, unsolved piece is now one of the most famous puzzles in the modern world. The solved messages only deepen the mystery, hinting at deeper layers of meaning that the final code is supposed to unlock. Sanborn has occasionally offered clues, confirming that the word Berlin is somehow central to the solution. Yet even with this hint and the combined might of professional and amateur cryptographers working online for years, the characters remain stubbornly locked. Its location is no accident. The fact that this puzzle sits in the courtyard of the CIA suggests its message could be a profound philosophical statement, a direct test of the agency's own cryptographic prowess, or perhaps something even more unexpected. Kryptos stands as a brilliant intersection of art and espionage, a modern monument to the enduring power of a well-crafted secret. It proves that some codes are not accidents of history, but are deliberately designed to last, challenging generations. This modern sculpture's silent challenge finds a parallel in a much older mystery, one carved not in metal but in stone. A unique clay disc fired over 3,000 years ago holds a language we can no longer hear. Unearthed on the Greek island of Crete, the Phaistos Disc is a stunning artifact from the Minoan Bronze Age, a civilization that predates even classical Greece. Its surface is a perfect spiral of mysterious symbols, each one not carved by hand, but pressed into the clay with individual seals. This means the disc represents the earliest known use of movable type printing in human history, a technology that would not become common for another 3,000 years. The symbols themselves are a captivating menagerie of 45 distinct pictures. We see a helmeted head, a shield, a captive with his arms bound, a beehive, a ship, and various birds and plants. They are arranged in groups separated by lines, almost like words in a sentence, winding from the outer edge inward on both sides. In total, 241 of these symbols form a message that has been completely silent for millennia. The fundamental problem is its utter isolation. This disc is one of a kind. No other artifact bearing this specific script has ever been found. For code breakers, this is a nightmare scenario. Without more text, there is nothing to compare it to. How can you perform frequency analysis or guess the meaning of a word if you only have one example of it in the entire world? Imagine trying to learn English from a single, short paragraph with no context. You would have no way of knowing if a word was a noun, a verb, or a name. This is the exact dilemma facing every scholar who studies the Phaistos Disc. Proposed translations are as varied as the symbols themselves. Some believe it is a prayer to a mother goddess, a religious hymn stamped for ritual use. Others argue it records a historical event, perhaps a great victory or a royal decree. There are more speculative theories that it outlines a mathematical formula or even serves as the rulebook for a long-lost board game. Yet without a Rosetta Stone, a bilingual text that can act as a key, every single interpretation remains an unproven guess. The disc is a stark reminder of how much history can be lost. An entire written language and the civilization that used it is condensed into this one silent object. It pushes us to wonder what other forms of writing, what other entire systems of thought have vanished from human memory without a trace. This ancient puzzle from the Mediterranean leads us to another great undeciphered script, one that emerged from a completely different part of the ancient world. While the Phaistos Disc stands alone, another Minoan script survives in hundreds of clay tablets, offering more text but no less mystery. This is Linear A, the administrative handwriting of the great Minoan palaces on Crete. For over a century, scholars have stared at these intricate symbols, aware that they are looking directly at the economic pulse of Europe's first great civilization, yet completely unable to read its language. The tablets are filled with lists, tallies of sheep, quantities of olive oil, and distributions of grain, all meticulously recorded by palace scribes. We can recognize the numbers and the little pictograms for commodities, but the words themselves, the names of people and places and gods, are utterly silent. The fundamental barrier is that the language encoded by Linear A is not Greek. It is something older, a pre-Greek tongue sometimes called Minoan, which vanished from history without any clear descendant. This means we have no linguistic family to place it in, no living language to offer clues to its structure or sound. The breakthrough came with its successor, Linear B. When that script was finally cracked in the 1950s, it proved to be an early form of Greek, used by the Mycenaeans who later dominated the region. Decipherers tried applying the same phonetic values from linear B to the older linear A script. The result was gibberish. The two scripts look similar, sharing many signs, but they write entirely different languages. It is like trying to read Italian using the rules of Spanish. The letters might look familiar, but the words they form make no sense. So these clay tablets sit as a profound paradox. We can see the Minoan economy in action. We can count their goods and see their careful record-keeping. But we cannot hear the names of the people who own those goods, or understand the commands of their rulers, or comprehend the religious offerings they meticulously logged. Deciphering linear A would be like turning on the sound for an entire silent film of the ancient world. We would finally move beyond the grand architecture and beautiful frescoes to hear the Minoans speak, to understand their social structure, their laws, and perhaps even their prayers. The silence of this lost language on Crete finds a strange echo in a much more recent puzzle, one that emerged from the cold of the Pacific Northwest. An entire civilization speaks to us through tiny, carved stones. The Indus Valley civilization flourished over 4,000 years ago, one of the world's first and largest urban societies, rivaling Egypt and Mesopotamia in its scale and sophistication. Its people built planned cities with advanced drainage systems and traded across vast distances, and they left behind a unique signature: thousands of small stone seals, intricately carved with animals like unicorns and bulls, and almost always topped with a short, elegant line of script. These symbols are our only window into their language, and it is a window that has remained stubbornly shuttered. The Indus script, used from around 2600 to 1900 BCE, consists of hundreds of distinct signs. Some are abstract, like arrows and branches, while others are clear pictograms of fish, men, and carts. The problem is not a lack of examples, but their frustrating brevity. The average inscription is only 4 or 5 characters long. Imagine trying to decipher the English language if you only had thousands of tiny fragments, each one just a word or two, with no complete sentences. You could never be sure if you were looking at a name, a title, a religious incantation, or a trade receipt. This shortness makes statistical analysis, the code breaker's most powerful tool, nearly useless. You cannot find common patterns or grammatical structures when the texts are so clipped. The mystery is compounded by a deeper question. We have no idea what language the people of the Indus Valley even spoke. Was it an early form of Dravidian, the language family of South India today, or was it something else entirely, a language that vanished without any descendants? Without this foundational knowledge, every attempted translation is built on a guess. Some scholars have even proposed a more radical idea. What if these beautiful sequences are not a true writing system at all, but a form of proto-writing, a set of religious, political, or clan symbols that conveyed meaning without representing the specific sounds of a spoken language? Unlocking the Indus script would be one of the most significant breakthroughs in archaeology. It would give a voice to a society that mastered urban living while much of the world was still in villages. We could finally read their names, understand their laws, and comprehend their beliefs. For now, these silent stones guard the secrets of a civilization that was, in its time, one of the greatest on Earth. This ancient script from a lost river valley finds a curious parallel in a code left behind by a man who shaped the modern world. The terror was palpable in the late 1960s as a serial murderer in California began sending taunting letters to the press. He called himself the Zodiac, and his communications were a chilling blend of bragging and menace. Some of these letters contained complex ciphers, and the killer claimed they held the key to his identity. He was not just hiding a secret, he was playing a cruel game with the entire public, turning his crimes into a macabre public spectacle. One of his ciphers, consisting of 408 symbols, was broken quickly by a schoolteacher and his wife. But this solution only fueled the mystery, as the message inside was a rambling, narcissistic rant that gave away no concrete details. The real challenge was his next cipher, a block of 340 characters that would stand defiant for over 51 years. It seemed to be an impenetrable jumble, resisting the efforts of the FBI and amateur code breakers for decades. Then, in 2020, a breakthrough came from an unexpected place. A team of private citizens, using a sophisticated computer algorithm and immense dedication, finally cracked the code. The solution was deeply anticlimactic. The decoded message was another confusing and egotistical statement, reading, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." The killer's identity remained, and still remains, a complete secret. This case is a stark lesson in how ciphers can be weapons of psychological terror. The Zodiac was not using codes primarily for secrecy, but for manipulation, to instill fear and to bask in the public's frantic attempts to understand him. He enjoyed the notoriety, and his puzzles were a central part of that performance. The recent solution of the 340 cipher proves that collaboration and modern technology can eventually break these historical locks, but it also highlights a sobering truth. Sometimes, even when the code is broken, the real secret, the name of the monster, stays hidden. This dark use of cryptography for public torment stands in sharp contrast to a puzzle created not from malice, but from a spirit of pure intellectual challenge. Sometimes the most stubborn codes are born from the simplest of intentions. In 1939, a cryptographer named Alexander D'Agapeyeff published the first edition of his book, Codes and Ciphers. In an appendix, he included a challenge for his readers, a short cipher composed of nothing but groups of numbers. He likely expected an eager student to solve it within a few days, a neat demonstration of the principles he had just taught. But something went terribly wrong. The years passed and no solution emerged. Even more baffling, D'Agapeyeff himself later admitted that he had completely forgotten the method he used to create it. The very author of the puzzle had lost the key to his own lock. The D'Agapeyeff cipher is a deceptively simple grid of digits, arranged in 5 rows of 14 numbers each. It looks like a straightforward exercise in substitution or transposition, the kind of thing a novice code breaker should be able to untangle. This is the core of its enduring frustration. It was designed to be solvable. For decades, amateur and professional cryptographers have attacked it with every conceivable technique. They have tried complex double transpositions where the order of the numbers is scrambled multiple times. They have attempted various cipher keys, from pages of famous books to maps of specific locations. Yet every proposed solution has resulted in gibberish, a jumble of letters that forms no words in any language. This consistent failure has led to a compelling and slightly embarrassing theory. Perhaps the great D'Agapeyeff cipher is not a code at all in the way we think. Maybe it contains a fatal error, a mistake D'Agapeyeff made when he was compiling the numbers for his book. He might have skipped a line, duplicated a row, or misapplied his own encoding rules, creating what is known as a null cipher, an uncrackable puzzle because its underlying message is irretrievably lost in a flawed construction. Its mystery is not one of profound secrets, but of human fallibility. It stands as a humble reminder that not every locked box contains a treasure. Some are empty, and the real puzzle is figuring out that there was never anything inside to begin with. This exercise from a forgotten textbook, a code that guards nothing but its own mistake, offers a stark contrast to our next enigma, one that supposedly protects a treasure of immense artistic and historical value. A man died alone on an Australian beach, and the only name he left behind was a scrap of paper with 2 words, Tamam Shud. It was the summer of 1948 when an unidentified man was found dead on Somerton Beach near Adelaide, his body resting against a seawall as if he had simply sat down for a rest and never gotten up. There were no signs of violence, no identification of any kind. The labels had been carefully cut from all his clothing. In a hidden fob pocket sewn into his trousers, police found a small, tightly rolled piece of paper. It was torn from the final page of a rare edition of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, and the printed words on it, Tamam Shud, are Persian for ended or finished. This was not the end of the mystery, but its true beginning. The very book from which the scrap was torn was later found, and in its back cover, investigators discovered a faint handwritten sequence of letters. This string of characters, seemingly random, is the Tamam Shud cipher. It looks like a code, a last message from a man who erased his own identity. The letters are grouped in lines, but they form no words in English or any other known language. Was this the key to his name, his mission, the reason for his death? The context of the case suggests something far more shadowy than a simple suicide. The Tamam Shud cipher is unique among unsolved codes because it is woven into the fabric of a profound human tragedy. This was not a puzzle created for intellectual sport. It was likely a piece of operational communication, a spy's last testament. The lack of any violence on the body points to a sophisticated, untraceable poison, a method favored by intelligence agencies of the era. The man himself was physically fit, with unusually strong, developed calves, leading to speculation he was a trained dancer or, more plausibly, a spy who had spent significant time on his toes. The code itself has resisted all attempts at a solution that satisfies every expert. Some believe it could be a one-time pad, a virtually unbreakable cipher where the key is used only once and then destroyed. Without that specific key, the message is permanently locked. Others have proposed it is not a cipher at all, but the first letters of words in a specific language, or perhaps a complex acronym. The most heartbreaking theory is that it is simply a random jumble, a meaningless sequence written by a dying man in a state of delirium. But the meticulous care taken to conceal his identity argues against chance. He went to incredible lengths to remain a ghost. Solving this cipher would not just be a cryptographic victory, it would potentially bring a name to a man who has been known only as the Somerton Man for over 70 years, and perhaps solve a death that has haunted Australia for generations. This beachside mystery, steeped in the shadowy world of mid-century espionage, finds a strange and beautiful predecessor in a Renaissance artifact, where the code is not made of letters but of paint and symbolism. Even the blank spaces in the Voynich Manuscript whisper secrets, scattered throughout its vellum pages, tucked into the margins beside unidentifiable plants and mysterious star charts, are faint handwritten notes. These are the Marginalia, added by various owners across the centuries after the book was created. They are written in scripts we can read, like a messy Latin or a cursive German, yet their messages are often just as baffling as the primary text. One might be a name, perhaps an owner from the 17th century. Another looks like a desperate attempt to correlate the strange Voynich letters with a known alphabet, with someone having written a Latin letter next to a Voynich character, as if trying to build a key. But these clues are frustratingly incomplete, cryptic, and often faded to near invisibility. Some researchers are convinced these scribbles are the Rosetta Stone for the entire manuscript. They might represent early, partial decipherments by a past owner who understood more than we do today. Or they could provide a solid date or a verifiable name, finally anchoring the floating mystery of the book's origin to a specific time and place. The challenge is that interpreting these notes is like trying to overhear a fragment of a conversation from 500 years ago. You might catch a single word, but without the full context, its meaning is lost. This creates a fascinating paradox. Here is a book whose main text is an unbreakable code, and the only parts we can technically read, the notes in the margins, are themselves tiny, unresolved puzzles. It demonstrates that the path to a solution isn't always through a direct attack on the cipher. Sometimes the key is hidden in the human fingerprints left behind, in the history of the object itself. The struggle to find meaning in these faint European scribbles leads us to a cipher that stripped away letters entirely, relying solely on the cold logic of numbers. A simple slip of paper tucked inside a century-old book holds a soldier's unread message. Discovered in the 1990s, the Smithy Code is a sequence of 5-digit number groups written by a British soldier from the First World War. There is no accompanying letter, no hint of its purpose, just rows of numbers like 50618, 50625, standing in stark, silent rows. This is not a grand cipher designed to baffle nations, but a deeply personal one, a message meant for one person that now puzzles everyone. The core of the problem is its complete isolation. We do not know what encryption method the soldier used. Was it a simple book cipher where each number points to a specific page, line, and word in a particular text? If so, which book did he use? His own Bible, a volume of poetry, a military manual? Without that key text, the numbers are meaningless. Or was it a more complex military code, a system taught in the trenches and since forgotten by history? Modern code breakers have thrown immense computational power at the sequence, searching for any statistical pattern, any hidden mathematical structure that could force it to speak. These attempts always fail. The numbers refuse to yield a coherent message in any language. The Smithy Code is a stark lesson in the fragility of communication. It represents a moment of profound importance to one man, a love letter, a final will, or a crucial piece of intelligence that never reached its destination. Its meaning died with him and his intended recipient, transforming a personal note into an eternal cryptologic ghost. This humble soldier's code, a whisper from the trenches, stands in sharp contrast to a literary puzzle deliberately crafted to challenge the public. Edgar Allan Poe himself was a master of riddles, a man who wove cryptography directly into his tales of mystery and the macabre. His famous story, The Gold Bug, hinges on the decipherment of a cipher that leads its protagonist to a fantastic buried treasure. Poe even issued public challenges in magazines, daring readers to send him codes he could not break, and he boasted he could solve any cipher ever devised. The codes within his stories were meant to be solvable, logical exercises for the attentive reader. Yet this very legacy has spawned a different kind of puzzle entirely. Independent, real-world ciphers have surfaced over the years, cloaked in the aura of Poe's name. These are not his creations, but they borrow his themes of hidden wealth and intellectual conquest. One such cipher might appear as a string of numbers or a page of strange symbols, discovered in an old book or posted anonymously online with a claim, whispered or written, that it holds the key to a fortune. The challenge here is profoundly different from cracking a code in a story. In a story, you know there is a treasure, you know the cipher is the key. In the real world, you have no such guarantees. The solver must first answer a more fundamental question. Is this a genuine puzzle with a real reward? Or is it an elaborate hoax, a piece of modern folklore designed to tease and torment? You must apply the cold, logical principles Poe himself championed, but without any of the narrative context he so carefully provided. This turns the exercise into a meta-puzzle, a cryptographic ghost hunt where you are deciphering not just symbols, but intention itself. It shows how a great work of fiction can leap from the page and inspire real-world enigmas, challenging us to become the detectives in a mystery that even Poe did not write. This literary dance between fiction and real life finds a stark counterpart in the world of raw, unfiltered political power, where a code was not inspired by a story, but was meant to shape history itself. Even a genius's private doodles can become a monumental challenge. Among the personal papers of the legendary physicist Richard Feynman were found several sheets covered in his own handwriting, but the text was not in English. These were his personal ciphers, codes he created not for national security, but for his own amusement and intellectual exercise. This was a man who cracked safes at the Los Alamos laboratory for fun during the Manhattan Project, a mind that reveled in the intricate beauty of a locked system. His ciphers are a direct extension of that playful curiosity. They are not believed to guard state secrets or hidden treasure. Instead, they are likely personal notes, musings, or simply puzzles he constructed to test his own methods. Yet without Feynman's unique, intuitive thought process to guide us, these seemingly simple codes have locked shut. The core challenge is getting inside the head of a man who saw the world through a fundamentally different lens. What kind of personal shorthand did he invent? Did he base it on mathematical constants or the structure of a favorite poem? Perhaps he used a cipher based on the movement of subatomic particles, a private joke only he would understand. Solving one of Feynman's ciphers would be a profound tribute, a way of shaking hands with his intellect across time. It would be less about discovering a secret message and more about completing a conversation he started, affirming the universal joy of finding patterns in chaos. These puzzles remind us that at their heart, ciphers are not always about concealment. They can be a form of pure play, a gymnasium for a mind that never stopped exploring. This physicist's personal intellectual games find their echo in a truly modern mystery, one born from the digital frontier. A secret was sealed inside a number so vast it defied time itself. In 1999, scientists at the MIT Laboratory for Computer Science conceived a puzzle unlike any other. Its goal was not to conceal a message forever, but to control precisely when it could be read. They created a time-lock cipher, a cryptographic device designed to take 35 years of continuous computation to crack without the secret key. The mechanism is both brilliant and elegant. They started with a simple message, the solution, and then encrypted it using a massive number that would take decades to factor using brute force methods, even with the computing power available at the time. The puzzle's architects knew the answer from the very beginning, holding it safely in escrow. The public challenge, therefore, is not a mystery in the traditional sense, but a calibrated countdown. It asks a profound question: can we design a secret that can only be revealed by the steady, unstoppable march of time itself? This is cryptography as a time capsule, a way to send a message into the future that remains securely locked until a specific moment arrives. It explores the concept of forced patience in a digital world built on instant access. The puzzle measures the gap between what is theoretically possible and what is practically achievable, a gap that slowly closes with each passing year as processing power inevitably grows. This ingenious blend of mathematics and temporal art now connects us to a different kind of measurement, one that seeks not to quantify time, but to capture the very essence of human genius. A canvas is more than an image, it is a puzzle of perception. Pablo Picasso, the titan of modern art, did not just paint what he saw, he shattered vision and reassembled it on his own terms. His cubist masterpieces are a visual language of fractured planes and overlapping perspectives, and this very fragmentation has fueled a tantalizing theory. Could these revolutionary works contain a hidden cipher, a coded message woven into the very fabric of their composition. The idea is not that Picasso painted secret letters for us to find. Instead, the code would be one of personal symbolism, a system where a specific shade of blue represents a period of profound sorrow, or the recurring shape of a guitar encodes a memory of a specific friend. Some researchers point to the deliberate placement of objects, arguing that a candle might symbolize truth, while a newspaper fragment references a political event he felt compelled to comment on silently. Decoding this visual language is perhaps the ultimate multidisciplinary challenge. It demands the eye of an art historian to understand the context, the mind of a cryptographer to search for patterns, and the soul of a biographer to grasp Picasso's turbulent personal life and strong political convictions. The fundamental barrier is its beautiful subjectivity. Where a written cipher has one correct solution, a painting can hold a multitude of meanings, all valid to different viewers. This transforms the hunt from a scientific decryption into a philosophical exploration. Was Picasso embedding a systematic message for posterity, or was he simply exploring the very nature of meaning itself, creating a code without a key to remind us that not all secrets are meant to be broken? This search for a hidden language in art finds a parallel in a world built entirely on patterns of sound. Music itself can become a locked room where notes hide letters. In the enigmatic world of musical cryptography, composers have long played with the idea of encoding messages within their scores, transforming a universal language of emotion into one of deliberate secrecy. A hypothetical but compelling puzzle in this vein is the B-double-flat cipher, a concept where a complex musical composition is suspected of concealing a text message within its very structure. The solver's monumental task is to find the key, the precise mapping between musical elements and an alphabet. Does a specific note, like a B-double-flat itself, correspond to a particular letter? Could the duration of a note, its volume, or the interval between two pitches spell out a word? The challenge is profoundly complicated because music is already a dense tapestry of meaning. A dramatic chord progression or a melancholic melody carries its own emotional weight, creating a powerful distraction from any hidden linguistic code. This forces the code breaker to become both a mathematician, searching for statistical patterns in the sequence of notes, and an artist, interpreting the score with an intuition that technical analysis alone cannot provide. Historical masters like Johann Sebastian Bach were known to embed simple ciphers, such as using the musical notes B, A, C, and H, which in German nomenclature correspond to the letters B flat, A, C, and B natural to spell his own name. Yet a full, complex cipher like the theoretical B double-flat remains in the realm of the unsolved, a beautiful demonstration of how the tools of art can be co-opted for covert communication. This auditory enigma, where a melody might whisper a secret, finds its counterpoint in a puzzle that is permanently anchored to a single, silent place. Carved into the stone of an 18th-century English monument, a sequence of 8 letters has defied explanation for centuries. On the Shepherd's Monument at Shugborough House, beneath a marble relief mirroring a famous Poussin painting, you will find the letters OUOSVAVV framed mysteriously between 2 carved stone heads. It is a local puzzle that has grown to capture the global imagination. The estate was home to the Anson family, a lineage of renowned British admirals connected to global exploration and naval mysteries. This context has fueled wild speculation, suggesting the code could be a clue to the location of the Holy Grail, or perhaps a secret map to treasure plundered from a Spanish galleon. Others propose a more romantic theory, that it is a coded declaration of love from one of the Anson brothers to his wife, The sheer number of proposed solutions is itself a testament to the cipher's stubborn nature. Some have tried simple substitution, turning the letters into a Latin phrase like optima uxoris, optima sororis, votis auspicatis votum validum, meaning best wife, best sister, with auspicious vows, a strong vow. Others see it as an acronym for a biblical or literary quote, or a complex cipher where each letter must be shifted according to a specific key text, like a passage from Virgil. The core problem is its devastating brevity. With only 8 characters, there are simply too few pieces of the puzzle. This allows for countless plausible interpretations, but no single one has emerged as definitive. The Shugborough Inscription is a perfect storm of historical intrigue and cryptographic limitation. It proves that a secret does not need to be long to be eternal, and that a few letters carved in stone can hold the weight of infinite speculation. This enduring riddle, etched in solid rock, finds its conceptual opposite in a code that is not carved at all, but written with the most ephemeral medium imaginable. A sudden, violent burst of radio energy screamed from the constellation Sagittarius, a signal so powerful it made an astronomer scrawl "wow" in the margin of the day to print out. For 72 seconds in the summer of 1977, the Big Ear radio telescope in Ohio recorded a narrowband signal that was everything scientists had predicted an interstellar message would be. It was intense, focused, and appeared to be artificial in origin, a perfect candidate for a cosmic hello. And then, just as suddenly as it arrived, it vanished, never to be heard again. This is the wow signal, and it represents the ultimate unbreakable code, not because its language is complex, but because we have no language at all in common with its potential sender. If this was a message, its content is not written in symbols we can rearrange. The information is encoded in the signal's very physics, its precise frequency, its 72-second duration as the Earth's rotation swept the telescope's gaze across it, and its staggering intensity. Researchers have tried to decode meaning from these raw characteristics. Could the duration represent a prime number, a universal mathematical concept? Could the specific frequency, the hydrogen line, be a deliberate choice, a way of saying we understand the basic building blocks of the universe? Without a repetition, without a second example to compare it to, every theory is just a guess. The wow signal is a single, perfect, enigmatic sentence spoken into the void, a sentence we recorded but cannot read. It pushes cryptography to its absolute limit, forcing us to ask how you even begin to decipher a message when you have no idea who sent it, why they sent it, or what framework they used to build it. This profound cosmic mystery, a potential whisper from another star, now brings us to our final earthly cipher, one that brings our journey full circle, back to a secret hidden within the pages of a book. The final cipher on our list is a note found in a dead man's pocket. In the summer of 1999, the body of 41-year-old Ricky McCormick was discovered in a field outside St. Louis, Missouri. His death was ruled a homicide, but the how and the why remained a complete mystery. The only potential clues were 2 folded pieces of paper recovered from his pants. They were covered from edge to edge in a bizarre mix of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and seemingly random punctuation. The script looked almost like a child's frantic doodling, but to the trained eyes of the FBI's top code breakers, it was clearly a structured, intentional cipher. This was the Ricky McCormick cipher, and it has humbled the agency's cryptanalysis and racketeering records unit for over 2 decades. They have thrown everything at it, from supercomputers running complex statistical models to the collective brainpower of the public, whom they openly appealed to for help. Every attempt has ended in failure. The messages remain perfectly, stubbornly unread. What makes this cipher so uniquely difficult is the man who wrote it. Ricky McCormick had only a ninth-grade education. He was not a trained cryptographer or a spy, yet family members confirmed he frequently wrote in code, a personal shorthand he used for his own notes. This suggests the cipher is not based on a known system like those used in espionage, but on a completely idiosyncratic language, a logic born entirely from one man's mind. He might have used numbers to represent names of people he knew, or letters to stand for locations familiar only to him. Perhaps certain symbols were visual reminders of specific events or feelings. Without his personal context, without understanding the unique dictionary he built in his own thoughts, the code is a lock for which the key has been thrown away forever. This transforms the puzzle from an intellectual exercise into a deeply human tragedy. Solving these notes would not just be a cryptographic victory, it could potentially reveal what happened to Ricky McCormick in his final hours. Were they directions to a meeting place, a record of a threat, a desperate last attempt to document the reason he was killed? The cipher holds the answers, silently guarding the truth about a man's death. It stands as the ultimate proof that the most impenetrable codes are not those designed by nations, but those born from personal necessity. They are living languages that die with their creator, leaving behind a ghost of meaning that the world can see but never quite understand. These 20 silent puzzles, from ancient clay to modern paper, reveal a deep and fundamental truth about ourselves. We are driven by an irresistible need to create secrets and an equally powerful desire to uncover them. This duality lies at the heart of every unbroken code. Look at the personal ciphers of Richard Feynman or Ricky McCormick. They were not designed for global espionage but for private use. Their creators built a unique logical universe, a personal language with its own rules and references. When the creator died, that universe collapsed, leaving behind a ghost of a message that we can observe but never truly hear. This highlights the most fragile element in any code, the human context. Without understanding the mind that built the lock, we are left fumbling with keys that no longer exist. This is why brute computational force often fails. A supercomputer can try trillions of combinations per second, but it cannot guess that the number 5 represents a childhood street address or that a specific musical note was a lover's favorite. These puzzles prove that logic alone is not always enough. You need the story behind the symbols. This leads to the ultimate philosophical question these ciphers pose. If a message is crafted so perfectly that it can never be read, does it still hold meaning? Is the Voynich Manuscript a profound work of genius if its ideas are permanently inaccessible? Or does its value shift, becoming a monument not to its content, but to the sheer human obsession with secrecy and the enduring, beautiful frustration of the unknown? These unbroken codes are not failures of cryptography. They are its most challenging success stories, reminding us that the final frontier of code breaking is not processing power, but the infinite and unpredictable complexity of the human mind. From the botanical mysteries of the Voynich Manuscript to the deeply personal shorthand of Ricky McCormick, these 20 unbroken codes form a unique frontier. They are not dusty relics locked away in history, but active, living challenges that call out to code breakers, linguists, and curious minds in every generation. Every failed attempt to crack them, every hypothesis that collapses under scrutiny, is not a dead end. It is a step forward, a process of elimination that deepens our collective understanding of language, logic, and the very nature of secrecy itself. The reasons for their stubborn silence are as diverse as the puzzles. Some suffer from lost keys, like the Beale Ciphers or the D'Agapeyeff challenge. Others are built on personal, idiosyncratic systems that died with their creators. A few, like Kryptos, are masterpieces of intentional design, meant to test the limits of our ingenuity for decades. And then there are those, like the Phaistos Disc, where the sheer passage of time has eroded all context, leaving a message without a language to speak it. In a world saturated with instant information and quick answers, these enduring enigmas stand as powerful reminders. They prove that some secrets are not meant to be revealed easily, that the most profound discoveries often demand a long, patient, and passionate pursuit. The journey toward understanding is as valuable as the solution itself. What do you think holds the key to one of these great mysteries? Share your own theories and thoughts in the comments below, and join us for more journeys into the world's greatest historical enigmas.